Today is 22 of April 2025. So in web programming, we talked about DOM tree, which is basically HTML text hierarchy. We can get those by function ID, get element by ID, or query selector or query selector all. And there's event, which is this is very typical event: load, scroll, click, DV click, key down, key up. Then we can make such callback function. This is event handler format, which is my button that event listener, or the listener format will be asynchronous function format. And there is event and there is function. This function will be callback because when event happens, then it will be called. So if it inside it, if you go deeper inside, then basically what we need to do is first make it as variable by get element. Then after that, by getting those by this element, we can define it with event listener, so we can do such things. We can also add properties and move. We can add and move nodes on the DOM, like define it like document.queryElementById, and you can for this property you can add something, and you can also remove the DOM element like this situation. PolySelect that list element, you can remove it, or you can also do declare the variables and using the parent element that remove charge method. Or you can also hide and showing DOM element, which is like get element. And in this situation, that element by ID, you don't need to put this tag icon. So you can just define this property as none. And this is another example. There's such HTML, then you can first get element and make event listener, and you can for this function you can define it as such as like this: get box image first and change it. And when you load all the things, what you need to do is first add event listener, because these things, these codes are based on how event listener works. And I said already every listeners are asynchronous. So we already saw the callback function, but this is other concept of other format of callback function. If you see this, then when callback function is that is variable which has input is function. Also in this situation, if you see this, or if you call do something function do something, then it actually the input is function that just output the some string. So if you see here, this is callback function with two parameters. And there's a lot of things we can see with callback function. This is settimeout example and setInterval example. If you see this, basically then you will define add event listener, and inside this you will define function in it. So do something, which is for the demo button ID. We will do another add event listener. Then we should also define this one. Then this is 3 seconds. So after 3 seconds, the text content will gonna be legend to wait for it. And for say hello, after 3 seconds, say hello function is called. And for set interval, this is for every time interval it called. If you see here, repeated message, timer ID interval, say hi. For every 1 second, then the ID part of the property will be add say hi like every time. You can also handle errors in callback function. How you handle errors? If you see here, then if it is error, then you record the error together. If you do something here, the one parameter is error. So if it's error, we will just return it. In this situation, result equals to work. And in this situation, if error, just return it. Not, then we will return the normal result. And there's concept of promise, which is object which receive callback function as an argument. Yeah, so we callback function as argument. If we put it, then promise object will do resolve or reject it. And what await and this keyword does is they make it looks like synchronous. And for the server and client relationship, it is all about HTTP. There will be requests and there will be response. And there is server-side rendering and client-side rendering. These days we do have client-side rendering, and there is concept of headers, methods, and payload. For headers, there is sender's header and receiver's header. There's representation, general, and request headers. And for the status code, 200 is okay, and 404 is not found, and 401 is unauthorized. When we later we will do fetch, we will make fetch code. In that case, what we usually do first is checking the status code check, and if it is not okay, we should throw the error. And for the method, there is post get put delete method. Post is creating and put is updating. And there's application program interface, which is REST APIs and JSON. JSON, there is key, which the format should be double quotes. And string should be also double quote. And no function comment or trailing commas are allowed. And for fetch API, this is promise based. There's also callback based, but we will see only promise based here. If you see this, then we have async keyword. So we will fetch URL first, and after fetch it, then we will return promise. Then it will be sequentially progressed with that then keyword. So this is how generic fetch template looks like. You will get URL first, try get URL, and process data. And there's async function status checking at the first part. And there is .json and .text, which is both of these methods return promise, .json and .text. And for the when you modifying or add or delete DOM object, you want to know what that property that some h2 tag or other DOM object has. You can see it easily by console.dir parenthesis with h2. Thank you.